Yep. This is my friend Jack, my buddy. He's here. I gotta turn the mic. I turn the mics up. I'm trying every time I turn. They're either too quiet or too loud. There's never any in between here.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jack, why don't you? I mean, I kind of already just did. I called you a genius. I called you a genius on the last show too. But why don't you introduce yourself for the people at home?
Well, I'm quite flattered that you love those intros and the bumpers that I'm making for the show. Yeah, my name's Jack. I'm a junior here at Wazoo. I lived with Josiah for a year. It was probably the greatest year of my life.
Keep talking. You know what I'm doing.
The greatest year of my life with Josiah. So yeah, we're here.
We had a lot of good times then.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll start. We won't go on. I pretty much went over your entire biography and like your social security number.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard the whole thing.
That's all right.
But I'll go. I'll make it quick though. So we did live together. Yeah. We basically lived together. We live in the studio. I can't afford housing here. And I introduced you. You introduced yourself a little bit, and you made the intro. And then I'm not gonna play it yet. I'm not gonna spoil the surprise here. But we got another thing he made.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk? Do you want to talk a little bit about how you made the intro?
Oh yeah. So I use FL Studio, and I love audio engineering, and so I just throw a bunch of stuff on the frying pan. I cook it up,
Cook that intro. Yeah.
Yep.
And how long did it take you? And I'll let you answer this however you want. How long did it take you to make that intro?
So the intro itself was like 15 minutes. I just threw a bunch of stuff together. I found like a royalty free like jazz beat, and I just put all that stuff over it. But then the one I made today, it took me like about 5 hours. I was really grilling it. I was Hans Zimmer in the studio kind of thing.
Right.
So I'm really excited to play that one.
You will notice when you listen to it. You will notice.
Yeah, you'll be able to hear the blood, sweat, and tears that I put into that.
Yeah, I listened to it and I was taken back.
Yeah, it might make some viewers cry. So
yeah, it made me cry a few times when I listened to it.
Yeah.
And then I was gonna say so. We live together. I'm just thinking of things that would be interesting to talk about with you before we get to the main topics of the show today. So you're from Virginia, actually. Is that
I'm
correct?
from Virginia.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so here's the crazy thing. I first met Jack the day after I moved in, and I saw he had this blue. Maybe I shouldn't describe it in case someone's gonna try to steal it or whatever. He has a wonderful. Kia, I'm not gonna say the make of the car for.
You can say it. Kia Soul.
He has a blue Kia Soul. It's beautiful. If you would were to see. And I looked at it, and it was like covered in like dust, basically. And I was like, oh, okay. So I didn't know he was from Virginia, and I was like, oh, okay. So he drove that from like Western Washington probably to like Eastern Washington, or like from like Idaho. And then I'm like, oh, cool. How'd you get here? And he said like, oh yeah, I'm from Virginia, and I drove that all the way to Washington. And I was like, there is no way that car made it to what? Not even because it looked bad or anything, but just because I assumed at first the dust was already there, and he drove it like that, and I was like, "There is no way that made it all the way." And he's like, "Oh no, it gets like that from driving in."
No, yeah, the Midwest dust. No, that the Kia Soul, it did really well, and I've done it 3 times now, and there's been no issues.
I mean, it's a beautiful car. I mean, like if you ever see the inside of it, it's like it is a beautiful car.
Well, it's a little box car, you can't dance around that fact. But I named it Penny, and Penny's.
You named it Penny?
Yeah, Penny.
Nice.
Yeah, she's a great car.
Yeah, round of applause for Penny. Everyone.
Yeah, round.
Yeah, there we go.
Lovely.
Yeah, and so. How recently was that? Cause was it like for a while that you had that name for it? Because I never asked you. Sorry. Yeah. When did you?
The crowd loves Penny. The crowd loves Penny.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't? I mean, it made it here like 6 times. Now it's literally double what you told me. 3 times. And that's. I never had a car that could make it that far. So I mean. So how when did you name it Penny, and what is that like? Is there any significance to that?
Oh yeah, so I named it Penny back in high school, and it was because it's a blue Kia Soul, right? And the Kias are Korean, and I named it after a Korean soul artist,
right?
To kind of fit that. And then her like debut album was bright blue, it's the same color as it, so
right.
So her name's Penny, and it just fits, man.
It looks like a penny. I mean, it looks.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be whenever you name a car, and this is my take. You have to give it a girl name because
it's like a ship.
Yeah, like what are you gonna call it, Bruce or something? Like no, it's not a.
I could see a Jeep being a Bruce.
There are cars that could be like I think like Yeah, a Jeep could be a Bruce. I don't know, but Penny is that's a good name. And then you drove it. Let me ask, because I brought up how like kind of dusty it was when you first got here. So what state do you think, or like region? You said like the Midwest, right? Is there any like state you notice in particular that like screwed it up the
Dusty,
most?
any dusty state?
Yeah.
I just remember in the middle of the Midwest, it was at night. It was dusk, right? So all the bugs were out.
Right.
And I had the bright headlights, and it was just like bug upon bug upon bug, just slamming right into the front of the thing. And then it was like dusty. I don't remember the states, to be honest. I'm not really good at the states. I didn't really know where I was half the time. I was just going left, you know.
Just going left.
So I was just going left, and I made it. So.
Yeah, you did make. Whenever you drove by, did you ever make a point to like, I'm gonna stop in some like a road trip?
Yeah. So all my trips, so I did the one where you met me, and I did the middle, the Midwest, right? But then the one that I went back, I did the North, and then just now coming back from Virginia for this year, I went deep south. I went down through Louisiana,
right,
and New Orleans and all that. So and I made a point to stop at the first Chick-fil-A.
Oh, nice. So
because I love Chick-fil-A.
So you've seen some of the history of this.
Yeah. It's like a Disneyland Chick-fil-A. It's got a bunch of stuff because it was originally like a different restaurant. It's quite the attraction.
Nice. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, let's take a trip for the show. Not for the show, just for like fun sometime. Well,
we'll go down to Georgia.
Yeah, let's go down. And then before we get into the main topics of the show, let me just ask you. You mentioned it, or maybe you didn't mention it at the beginning, but you're involved in winemaking actually.
Yeah,
so,
that's my degree.
So yeah, what do you like about wine? When did you first get inspired to do that?
Yeah, so I came to the WSU. I didn't know what I was doing, and I took an exploratory class, and I found that it offered a wine program, which is pretty unique to have, especially because I'm from the East Coast. There's barely anything like that.
Right.
So I started looking into it, and I just found a passion in wine and its history and how it's created and all that stuff. So I fell in love with it, and then just this past year, I wasn't at Wazoo. I was working at a winery down in California, and that just bolstered all my interests. So I love it.
That's beautiful. And do you have a favorite? And I'm gonna completely screw this. This is not the right terminology at all. But do you have a favorite like type of wine?
Favorite type of wine? I used to really hate it, but I love red wine now. And the specific varietal, I love Merlot.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm in a vine class right now.
You're in the intro.
Kind of as a goof, and then I'll tell you what, it is a good class. It is good for if you're interested in wine. But my problem is, I told Jack this before. I thought by this point we'd be like getting plastered every day or something like that. But no, it's about like grapes and stuff, like growing grapes and like how to do it right, and like what a like canopy is and stuff. And that's fun for the people who are into that. But I'm just like I was kind of expecting to get like. By this point, we would be just like Orson Welles on the set of that commercial he was doing. Just the friend.
Just you gotta wait till the end. That's when they do the actual wine tasting.
Yeah.
And they tell you to spit the wine up, but just don't.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Like maybe these kids here can't handle their wine, but I'm telling you what, I can handle it fine. I was thinking about. Yeah. I wanted to ask one of the professors, like, hey, do you know Jack? You know that guy? And then, but the problem is that. They're all over like Zoom from the Tri-Cities because that's where and so I never did. But I was thinking maybe one day I'll just squeeze him, bring him in, just see if anyone notices. Because there's there's a plaque in there. There's like they have like your presidential portrait in there. This man.
No, they would not have known me because I haven't even gone to the actual campus yet. So they probably just forget.
That's true. I mean, they're gonna forget it. They probably forgot about me just now.
I didn't make a big impression, a big splash.
Yeah. Well, they're not paying attention correctly, clearly, because like you should. By this point,
I should have showed them the intro.
Yeah, I mean and here's the thing. I'll say this, like, I mean this with no disrespect to your career path. Like, as soon as you're into wine, I'm gonna whatever wine you make, I'm gonna buy.
I'll give you it for free.
No, you don't have to. I want to make sure you like are putting food on the table. I'll pay full price for it. But
okay.
But I say this with full respect. I think you should have been in radio, frankly, because you have a good voice for it. And I said this on the show, but like. I think you're the number one person I've met where because I've had other, like, obviously, like, I've had other friends. That sounds like I'm saying, like, I've had a few friends before, I know what it's like. But I think you're the number one person where, like, whenever I'm, like, watching we're, like, watching TV or, like, we're thinking of something or whatever, like, our brains go to the same place at the exact same time. I mean, you're more, like, normal than me, I think. I'm, like, more crazy.
I don't know about that.
Well, you're, like, a more normal person than me. That's not an insult at all. That is, like, a positive thing. But And then I mentioned him on the show before, and if he has a problem with it, then I don't really care. Doug Bono as well, ladies and gentlemen. He should be on radio as well. He has a beautiful voice. His voice is like
the most velvety, like, oh my goodness.
Like the first time I heard him speak, and he said like, "Oh hey man, what's up?" And it was like if your ears could like climax, they would.
No, yeah, he's had. Like I used to work at the dining hall. He's had girls there that I worked with. He'd come up, get his burger, say a few lines, he leaves, and he just leaves the most impression out there. Like, who is that?
Yeah, I saw this one. He was ordering food at the dining hall, and there was a woman gave him his order. Oh, thank you very much. And then as soon as she leaves, he's like, as soon as he leaves, she's like.
No, literally, that's not far off. I swear, dude. They came up to me, they're like, "Who is that?" I was like, "Oh, that's my roommate." They go, "You gotta, get us together."
He'll be a guest on the show one day.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna try to get him to record an intro too, but I'm playing that one every time, so I can't now. But one day we're gonna do. So before we move on, because we spent a few.
I just wanted to say something. Just about what you were talking about earlier, I'm so excited to do this show because, like you said, I think we're on the same sort of wavelength when it comes to thinking, exactly. And I've always dreamt of doing something like this with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad he is. I think I mentioned it on the first show, but when I first did this show for the first time, nearly a year ago now. When I did, it was very different than for the 3 people who remember that version of the show. But I messaged like a group chat we have because we used to live together, and like Doug, the guy I mentioned, Mikey, who I mentioned before on the show. These guys, we all lived together at one point, and we had like a group chat for that. And I said, "Oh, hey, I'm doing a radio show now, And then I think the first thing you said, you were the first one to respond. And the first thing you said was like, "You gotta get me in on that." Or something. And it's like,
no,
and I was yes. I mean, I would have asked you. I would have asked you then if you were here. I mean, I would have. I mean, I think I asked. I don't think I asked anyone to actually officially be on it until now, because there's no one, because the main people I know, and I mean this to no disrespect to anyone else I know besides the people who were in that group chat, but I don't think any of them would be like as funny on it. So that's why we brought him on. I'm going to be I said earlier he's more normal than me, which is true.
I don't know about that, man.
I mean, we'll do an official.
I think time will tell. I think
we'll do our like life events list of like normal things to do in life, and whoever has more will be the more.
Yeah, but, it'd be fun to talk about.
On the show, I'll be the more normal one on the show. He's like the funny guy on the show, the cool. But,
I'll be the flavor.
Yeah, he adds the flavor. Like I'm like the.
Yeah. It's like Austin,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Another shout out to that Austin. He's a well-to-do man now. I don't know if he could be on the show.
He's a weatherman, and
yeah. Austin. Shout out Austin Peppers. Anyone on KWVI or whatever state? That's not the name of it, but shout out him.
Yakima.
Yeah, because that's the thing. He was the fifth guy. There was no sixth guy. There was never a sixth guy. He was the fifth guy in that room we were talking about, and now he's like a well-to-do fellow. He's like he is a weatherman on TV now. So if you're ever in, we'll play one of his segments one day on the show. I want to get his permission. My dream is like one day when he's in town, he'll be a guest on the show too, and we'll like play some of his clips, and he can like commentate on what's going on. Like he can commentate on the behind the scenes of like how do they know the weather besides Google, and
he's got a great radio voice. I think it would be cool to get him to do like a segment. Because he's commentated for Wazoo games and stuff,
right?
But we should make him do like a segment on like just like a wipeout clip or something. I want him to like do call outs there too.
That's a good. We should do that's a good idea. Like building off that, we should do a segment where like we get some clips of like sports adjacent things like wipeout.
Yeah.
We'll commentate
and Austin has the commentate.
He commentated all the time, like in the old apartment we lived in.
He's good at it too.
Yeah, he would say like when we're playing video games, we're like, I don't even need to play. I'll just commentate on it. And
he does a good job. When we played Super Smash Bros, he would do like call by
exactly
play by plays.
He got it right, and he said it like in a professional.
It's beautiful.
Because I think some people think when I say I'm doing radio, they think like I can do that, but no, that's a special. You can do radio, and then there's like you need to have a special skill.
It's a skill. Because I used to live next to him, in the room next to him, and he would sit in his room alone and watch Sunday night football and mute it, and then commentate himself alone. And I used to hear it. It was amazing.
Like that's a skill you can be born with, or you can be taught. That contradicts itself. But he was born with it, and then he was taught it again, and he learned how to do it.
Yeah, I think it's talent, and then you build upon that talent. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. So shout out that guy. Because the thing is, I don't want to give away his. No one cares, but I'm not going to give away his plans here. But I know he is planning to come back to Pullman to visit sometime, and I don't think it's going to align with when we're doing the show. But to do one day, I'll do like a pre-taped segment, and we'll just air it on the show because I don't always do that, but we can do that. And Yeah, so shout out to that guy. But before we go on to some of the main topics for today, I just wanted to say, is there anything you'd like to add about yourself? Because I've been talking about introducing you for the past nearly 20 minutes now. So is there anything you want to say just about yourself to
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest thing I want to emphasize, I'm really looking forward to making more audio clips for this show. I'm gonna make 10 of them. It's gonna be so good.
I said he was he brought it to an art form. It is already kind of technically an art form, but he brought it to an art form doing that, and he first sent it. I think he just sent me a text saying what's the station ID number and what's the name, or what's the station frequency and what's the station name, and I just said it, and I didn't know what he was. I thought he was playing he was playing to watch for and then he, without saying anything else, he just sends listen to this. I play it, and the first thing I did was play it again, and then I just had to soak it all in, the nuances, and it was beautiful. And
I loved making it, man. Yeah. I can't wait to make more.
I'm thinking when they get to 3 minutes or 4, I'm gonna compile them all and put them on a separate YouTube video.
Oh yeah.